Welcome to the third part of a five-part series on the history of the Fawn Lodge, located in Fawnskin, California. To make the most sense out of this presentation, I would suggest that you start by watching the first two parts. You'll be able to find the first part by typing into the YouTube search bar, Fawn Lodge History Presentation, Part 1. Again, here is the photograph that was posted by Richard Higgins on Facebook. The photograph was most likely taken in the late 1960s or early 1970s. In this video, we will cover information on the Fawn Lodge during the time period that Glenn and Jackie Wilson owned the building. We were able to obtain a copy of one of the brochures of the Fawn Lodge that contained photographs of the inside of the building and the second-story rooms. In this March 1946 Grizzly article, we can learn several facts. The lodge consisted of 10 rooms at that time. Glenn Wilson purchased the building and all the furnishings for over $50,000 and planned to immediately start an estimated $10,000 remodeling. The dining room would be removed to the lobby area so the fireplace could be of better use. Glenn's business partners, Ray Shoup and Ray Gaskell, left shortly after this time period. This full-page advertisement gives us an idea on what businesses were operating out of the Fawn Lodge. The advertisement appears to have been sponsored by Fawn Lodge Incorporated, which is comprised of Glenn Wilson, Ray Shoup, and Ray Gaskell. The section on foxes indicates that they have film, souvenirs, and novelties. I am guessing that Glenn's Cafe was on the far right of the building. Then, continuing to the left, would have been the entranceway to Ray's Cocktail Lounge, which was run by Ray Shoup, one of the 3 owners of the lodge. Then Foxy's followed by Armstrong's Hardware on the corner. Peter's Barber Shop was at the end of the building facing Navajo Road. Note that there is no mention of a restaurant such as the House of Wilson at this time. The important point of this article from June of 1946 is that we are informed that the lodge originally had 12 rooms and now it has 20 new modern rooms and apartments. There is even a bridal suite. That's a big jump from 10 to 20 rooms, so where did they get this additional area? It may have come about from the internal construction of a 3rd story. Anyway, Glenn also reported that the lodge would be operating on a year-round basis. Unfortunately, that did not happen until sometime in the 1950s. This is an interesting ad from the April 7, 1947 edition of the Limelight. Remember how the lodge was to be open year-round? And here it is a year later being advertised as reopening. The Fawn Lodge Incorporated has owned the building for close to 3 years, and here is an advertisement for the Woodland Restaurant. Again, nothing of the House of Wilson, but the restaurant is now located in the fireplace area on the left of the building. Let's take a closer look at that photograph. Not a particular elegant dining area. There appears to be several tables for 2 rather than the normal tables for 4. Nothing great for wall coverings. Let's compare this photograph with Mark Durbin's photograph of the lounge area of the Fawn Lodge from what we would assume was the 1920s or 1930s. The advertising photo shown on the top of this slide has the same fireplace. The columns and the copper peen ceilings that are in Mark's photographs are not visible. The position of the photographer in both shots appears to be in the same location. I am thinking that the 2 wood columns in Mark's photographs have been right behind the photographer and also may have been part of an interior wall that was constructed later on. As the June 3, 1951 Grizzly article shown on the left says, Fawn Lodge's unique fireplace has been used hundreds of times as a backdrop for photographs. This is an important point that can be used to authenticate Mark's photograph. Columns, beams, and walls can be removed, but fireplaces all remain the same even after a fire. This Fawn Lodge folded brochure came from Robbie and Judy Wilson. The way you can determine that it was a Wilson-produced brochure or even a newspaper advertisement is by the mailing address being Box 7. This address was only used in the Wilson era. There are some interesting points that we can learn from this brochure. Note that the restaurant is still referred to as the Woodland Restaurant, and the bar is identified as the Bambi Bar. We will now look at some of the individual photographs that were used in this advertisement. Note that the name of the restaurant is the Woodland Restaurant, not Wilson's Cafe or House of Wilson. Let's take a closer look at that photograph. There is a rotary banner in the rear. From the December 13, 1946 edition of the Grizzly, we learned that Glenn was elected the Rotary president, so the photograph must have been taken around that time period. Regular Rotary meetings were held at the cafe for several years after that. Most of the tables are still for two. No accommodations for any larger groups at this time. The counter service is still there. This photograph of the Bambi Bar was taken from the front end of the lodge building. The exterior door to the cocktail lounge is behind the photographer. The basic bar would stay the same for many years. Later, the booths on the left would be removed in favor of a shuffleboard. In the lower left part of the photograph, you can see one of the 5 slot machines that were part of the Fawn Lodge. The upper left of the photograph shows an area where there was a doorway connecting the cocktail lounge to the lobby. To the right of the bartender was a window passageway to the kitchen. This photograph is titled Our Beautiful Lobby with Its Woodland Atmosphere. The photographer was standing with his back up against the front door to the lobby. The stairway is in the back towards the right. The bar and cafe would be to the right as well. To the left are the office spaces that were rented out. Here is a photograph from Robbie and Judy Wilson's wedding photo collection. The photograph gives us an up-close view of the front desk and the stairway that led to the second floor rooms. The glass case front desk counter may have come from the drugstore that was previously located in the adjacent store area, which was owned and run by Helen Holt. Now, back to the brochure pictures. In an interview with Robbie Wilson, he tells us that this photograph shows the only room that had a sink in it. There were 3 bath shower facilities on the second floor, all separate from the rooms. These rooms were located as follows: one over the bar area, which had a toilet and shower, a second one on the far side of the building near the present-day firehouse location, and the third one was over the kitchen. This photograph was titled A Twin Bedroom in Fawn Lodge. From our best estimate, those windows are 5 feet in width from molding to molding. So these rooms were somewhat narrow and deep. Most of the rooms were advertised as sleeping rooms, meaning all that you did in that room was sleep. No other forms of entertainment such as TVs. All other types of activities and entertainment were held outside of the room. This concludes part 3 of the history of the Fawn Lodge. Want more information? There are 2 more parts to this series on YouTube. If you enjoyed this presentation and want to know more about Big Bear history, come join us at the Big Bear Valley Museum at 800 Greenway Drive in Big Bear City. We are located just east of the airport and open every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day weekend. See you there.